All right, so we are live for our Sunday show. I'm here with my co-host, Ali Akbar. I'm Devin Wills. We're excited to get started today. We do appreciate everybody joining in here at 4:30. Well, right at 4:40 this Sunday afternoon. We do have some things that have come up as far as business and things that I got to be taken care of this evening and require some traveling. So we were trying to accommodate. And Ali, how are you doing today?
I'm good. It's a wonderful Sunday full of allergies. Yes, yet again, I swear we're gonna have to start having a segment dedicated to my allergies. As the guests know, sometimes I'm hanging in there, and sometimes I've got a little tissue handy. And I wanted to give a shout out to everybody tuning in on Periscope. I appreciate y'all tuning in every week. Make sure you go to bit.ly.com/Dissent Show, where you can subscribe via YouTube. That is the most important metric this show has. It's exciting to grow the audience with y'all, but bit.ly.com/Dissent Show. Make sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel. And howdy everybody from Twitter. Huge shout out.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once you've done that, there is an option to select notifications. Those notifications will let you know when things such as what happened today, a little time change, it'll let you know when those happen, when we schedule events, whenever we post videos. We have a large number of highlight videos coming out throughout the week. We're really excited about those. Our editor, Giuseppe Cucci, he's doing a great job on that. He's not joining us today because of short notice on the actual time change. So I'm actually going to be running the camera shots from behind the scenes. So if there's a delay, of pulling Ali up, I do apologize. I just like looking at myself so much. But no, I'm kidding. If you haven't followed us on Twitter, go ahead and do so. It's at Dissent Show, DISSENT Show. Ali's Twitter account, once again, is at ALI. Very, very privileged with that short. Every time. Mine's 10 letters. I hate that. But you can follow me at Devin Wills, DEVONWILLS. But with that, we'll go ahead and jump right into it. A lot of crazy things have happened this week. I say crazy. A lot of just petty attention.
That sums up this entire year, Devin. 2016 has been the year of cray-cray.
Oh, definitely. I feel like we've been dealing with a lot of pettiness, such as Colin Kaepernick. If many of you who may not know or don't follow sports, Kaepernick is a 28-year-old or 29-year-old quarterback for the 49ers. In 2012, Alex Smith was their starting quarterback. He got injured, and Kaepernick came in and just looked like this phenom quarterback. They wound up going to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Ravens that year. He's been irrelevant ever since. They gave him this huge contract. I think he makes around $19 million a year, from what I understand. And they haven't won very many games. They haven't done well in playoffs. They haven't done. It's been a downslide of their talent since 2012. And yesterday he felt the need to say that. Well, he felt the need to sit down and not stand for the national anthem. And during the press conference following the game, he said that he doesn't feel like he should stand for a flag or a country that is suppressing or oppressing rather people of color and black people, and it's really puzzling. I mean, this is a guy who is half African American. I do believe he's half white. He might be half Hispanic. I'm not sure. 100%, but he makes $19 million a year in the National Football League. That's a very privileged place to be at this point in time. But Ali, what's your take on this? I mean, here's a guy who's he's adopted by two white people when he was a child because his parents couldn't take care of him. His mom was very young. His African American father did not want anything to do with him. Do you think he has a leg to stand on regarding this statement, or how foolish do you think this may be, or what kind of ploy do you think this might be for PR or attention?
I think that we live in interesting times, and right now, white people, white millennials, and frustrated older white voters are exploring their consciousness through some of them through alt-right, and black people are exploring some of their consciousness through Black Lives Matter or just the issues that they have put at the forefront. What I think is, I don't know if this was a PR ploy or not. His hat was new and his shirt was new. The question becomes, who got that hat for him? Who got that shirt for him? Who's whispering in his ear about some of these issues? But this is a time of self-exploration and self-identity for a lot of people. Like I said, the white people are doing it, black people are doing it, transsexuals are doing it, people across their sexual identity. So I don't bemoan him for that. But not standing for the national anthem is entirely disrespectful. I think that Gabby Douglas is a fantastic athlete. I think she's a patriotic American, and I don't think it was a big deal that she didn't put her hand formally on her heart. I reserve that for the pledge. There's times where I don't do that. I put my hand solemnly in front or behind me, and I attend a number of political events. But to not stand up and then to explain why you didn't stand up as kind of a way, like, just in case you missed, I was sitting down. That seems kind of self-serving. It doesn't seem to spotlight the issues that he was actually trying to shed light on. I do think that there is a disparity in the way that black people are treated, not just by police officers, but in mainstream media, by Hollywood, and then how we treat each other, how black people value black life. It needs to be better, but that is not unique to America. That is not unique to police interactions or not. One commenter on Periscope says your employment is not the place to protest, and I have to agree here. And I don't want to deprive athletes or famous people of having political opinions, but don't think that they're at all relevant to me. And do not think that you using your platform as essentially a bully platform is something that's relevant to me. I think that's incredibly disrespectful to his own views. I think that's incredibly disrespectful to the debate that I want to have, which is one of frankness, which one is one that recognizes that black people are mistreated. It's something that Donald Trump recognizes. That of all the races and all the groups in America that have seen progress, it always seems like black people are left behind. Why is that? Why is the focus on Hispanics and amnesty? Why is there a focus on mainstreaming transgenders and homosexuality or this? But it seems like white Christian males are being targeted right now. And it seems like the America hate is popular. And it's America that's going to lead the rest of the world in figuring out how a diverse people, particularly our countries like India or our country are the most diverse, how we're going to get people to coexist. And right now, we're the people who are doing it. So, shame on him. Yeah. And, he deserves some trolling time.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's definitely asked for some trolling time. Like you and I were discussing earlier, it's like whenever Michelle Obama held up the sign like "Bring Back Our Girls," the hashtag, and a lot of people gave her some flack for that. They said that holding up a piece of paper is not going to change anybody's lives, and I would have to say the same thing about Colin Kaepernick. I mean, him sitting on the bench does nothing. If anything, it draws negative press to a struggling football team. This is Chip Kelly's first year as coach of the 49ers. And it's like his second or third year in the actual NFL. I would be doing everything possible to make my coach look good, everything possible to make this historic football team that has so many Super Bowls, has some of the best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. I would be doing everything I can to put the best foot forward and project that image of unity, project that image of, hey, we are holding tight to our traditions. We're holding tight to this legacy that we're leaving in this league. And I actually looked up the analytics on his name being searched, and actually, of course, Colin Kaepernick anthem.
Via Google, the Google search engine, right?
Yeah, the Google search engine. So the analytics. So I mean, granted, this is not Hillary Clinton, so I suggest that I suspect that it's accurate, but. It said that his actual Google search, like for his name, went up 100% just yesterday. That pretty much prior to yesterday, nobody was less than 1%. So it was like at 0% on the analytics. We're actually searching for his name. So he had become irrelevant. He's not Tom Brady. He's not. I guarantee that Peyton Manning is still getting more hits and more searches for him. He's a great quarterback, but he's now retired. Nobody cares about Colin Kaepernick regarding the NFL. And in a time where Tony Romo, who plays for the America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, he breaks his back. And instead of talking about Tony Romo and Dak Prescott coming in and replacing him for the regular season, we're talking about Colin Kaepernick doing something as childish as not standing up for the pledge. So, or not the pledge, but the actual national anthem. It's just disrespectful, and I definitely think it was a ploy for, trying to get that.
And I do want to say something about the national anthem and why we stand. We stand because we're standing together. We're not standing because we're bowing down to a symbol or our government. It's a form of unity, and it is a sign of respect with your teammates, with your coach, with the people who are standing in the stands. You have to imagine there's two different teams there, and the makeup of the fans are two different teams. It's not the refs that unify us. It's not the NFL symbol. It's those first moments during the game where everybody is one, because we are one nation. It is the National Football League, and we're standing together side by side, brothers and sisters, by a creed that says that all men were created equal. And it may have taken us a little while to actualize that, but we did. And we're never going to be perfect here. But and there is systemic racism, there is systemic misogyny, but this whole culture and demands that we recognize our privilege or that we treat people worse so that other people can feel better. Well, that's not equality, and that's not a practical solution on how people are going to be treated better. We're much better at focusing on legislative changes and having a frank debate, recognizing our prejudices, and then saying, okay, well, some of them should be legislated against and some of them shouldn't. That's my view on it, and I don't know if my view is right or left or whatever. I think it's correct.
Of course, with just as you were saying, it's about standing up unified and together, and thank God that we live in a country where we can address these matters and we can hope for change. There are several countries over in the Middle East, several countries around the United States where reform is not an option.
Yeah.
And thank God that we live in a country that reform is an option. So, I feel bad for, the 49ers organization. Feel bad for their fans. Lots of, burning of the Kaepernick jerseys and, some pretty epic videos for such a short, it was the turnaround.
Who's that Seattle's coach, though? Who's the Seattle coach? The
Pete
Seahawks.
Carroll?
Yeah, he's a 9/11 truther. This is the left coast being the left coast.
Yeah. It's celebrities. What can you ask of the West Coast and their celebrities? So to go back to the Tony Romo thing, out 6 to 10 weeks. I might actually root for the Cowboys a little bit this year. I cannot stand Tony Romo. Huge Tom Brady fan.
Why can't you stand Tony Romo? I say this. People always say, "Hey, you from Texas, boy?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You root for the Cowboys?" I said, "They're America's team. You ought to be rooting for them." And that's how I get around that. I usually watch them late in the season if they're doing well. But my loyalty is with the Cowboys. But I like college football a lot more. But why don't you like Tony Romo?
So I say this to all my friends, people that I used to work with. I have a good friend of mine. He's from Buffalo, New York. And he's a huge Cowboys fan, and he's always like, Tony Romo has some of the best QB ratings and all these statistics and all this stuff. And I tell him, Tony Romo is the only quarterback in history to accidentally have elite stats. And by that I mean he's always had a phenomenal offensive line, he's always had a phenomenal receiving core, and he's always had a 1-2 punch with his running backs. This guy has been given talent on a silver platter and an opportunity to do great things, and every year he gets hurt, every year he chokes, and it's, I mean, I'm not rooting necessarily against the guy, but the proof is in the pudding. You know, you get what you get. So with Tony Romo, it's one of those things. He doesn't stand in the pocket, you know, and throw the ball. He doesn't read offenses as well as, you know, Peyton Manning does, Tom Brady, even Eli Manning at times. He's just one of those guys that accidentally got put in that situation. I think if Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or even Cam Newton were the quarterback of the Cowboys, they'd go to the Super Bowl every year because they always have people who can catch. I mean, you have Jason Witten, who is probably the most automatic tight end there is. He runs a route. He's really slow, but he turns around, he catches that ball, and gets a couple extra yards. I mean, it's what happens. But, you know,
I think that this is what you're talking about is also about finding good leaders. And if you read George Bush's book, Decision Points, his memoir, you find out, like, when you're the president, you usually have a choice between two bad decisions. All the other decisions have been made for you. So, you know, by a cabinet secretary, a director, your chief of staff, those decisions where there's a good decision or a good method that can be constructed, they get made. But when push comes to shove and there has to be one person responsible for a bad decision being made, the buck stops at the president's desk. And what you find is good companies are dictatorships, like Steve Jobs' Apple. Mm-hmm. You know, one person has to be responsible for curating the company's culture, the product line, the price point for services, and I think that what you're saying is absolutely accurate. You know, good sports teams and even good campaigns, you know, it's a series of unfortunate situations. So you make the best team that you can that complements each other well, and then you're going to inherently have something unpredictable happen. But that's predictable. It's predictable that something unpredictable will happen. It's how you act on the field because the coach can't be there that matters the most. And that really speaks to where America is right now. We have incompetent, ineffective leaders who are muted by political correctness, and, you know, we're stuck in this position of losing. So, you know, I think, you know, I just think that, you know, whether it's our leaders in Congress or it's our academic institutions and college campuses, you have a culture of, you know, leaders that are instructing almost to the populace or our students on college campus, like, no, you don't need to be focused with this or that or critical thinking or anything like that. Why don't you just, you know, collect the paycheck or protest on campus and you know, stuff like that.
Protest on campus? You mean pass out over 5,000 dildos at University of Texas?
Yeah. Golly.
I honestly, I have. So the most embarrassing moment for me for University of Texas in the past like 5 or 6 years is that Mac Brown was the king of, you know, taking siblings and recruiting siblings. So you have, you know, Colt McCoy's brother coming in playing for UT. You have Jordan Shipley's brother coming in and playing for UT, as if, you know, it's in the blood. They should be good. And UT has been a sorry football program. And for somebody who is diehard UT, I'm no longer diehard UT because they make terrible decisions. However, those are really embarrassing moments until this week. And the most embarrassing moment as a Texan, as somebody I mean, I would have loved to have gone to UT, but it didn't even play. But so to see that students are standing out, handling the biggest dildos I've ever seen in my life, and just openly handing them to people, saying, "Hey, we oppose, you know, concealed carry on campus." Yeah. And it's, you know, they
called it Cox, not Glocks.
Exactly. And you know, they're sitting there, and some of them do sound pretty intelligent in what they're saying, but I mean, you can't get past how ludicrous it is for these people. Like, all right, here, strap a dildo to your backpack and protest concealed carry of a firearm. If I'm not mistaken, if I walk into one of those dildos on the backpack, am I not able to file like sexual assault charges? Because I mean, it's illegal to even have them in the public like that to begin with.
Is it?
Yeah, that's why they're doing it. They say it's outrageous for people to be able to conceal carry and even.
Is it illegal or is it against school rules?
it's illegal, and I do believe illegal in the state of Texas. I wish we had somebody be like, hey, somebody look that up. Hey, somebody on Periscope, look that up.
Yeah, look up whether or not it's the Gox the Cox not Glocks is whether it's a UT rule or whether it's an Austin statute or Texas law. Find out if that you're not allowed to carry dildos in public. Because I think you should be able to carry dildos in public. However, I agree with you. If it touches somebody, I'm totally filing assault and sexual assault charges. And
yeah, I mean, it's
touch me with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, you don't know where it's
13 inches there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the one video I saw, it was a huge black one. I can't believe we're even talking about this right now.
Devin and Ollie talking about big black dicks.
So the girl sitting there talking, and I saw a comment. It just said, I think that's an assault dildo is what he called it. And, because when it comes to gun control, they're always talking about. Steven Crowder put out a great video about common sense gun control, and he used all the liberal common sense methods and their logic. And every time somebody walked up, they're like, oh, if it's made of wood and metal, then it's totally fine. So there's like a 30-06, which is the #1 used caliber for deer hunting in the United States. There's a 30-06. It's wood stock, and it doesn't look like a tactical rifle. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, it's totally fine. And then he pulls out the actual ammunition. And he says, so which one do you think should be legal? And he pulls out like a 22 long rifle and the 30-06, and they're like, oh, not the 30. That's way too big. You should be able to kill a deer with the 22. And the 22 is in the state of Virginia, it's illegal to shoot a deer with anything less than a .23 caliber. So a 22 is too small. So would be a 5.56 or a 223, which is what the AR shoots. So anyways, they're saying all these things, and everything that they ask, he's like, so what do you think about these? And so he got to the actual AR-15 and the SKS or AK, and they have all these accessories, like the most accessories you could put on a gun, and they're like, those should be illegal. And it's just based on look, has nothing to do with what they shoot, how they shoot.
That's what's criminal about our media and what they're doing. They're propagandists, and they learned this from Soviet Russia, and a lot of our advertising and marketing still here and across the world has been affected by what the communists first successfully did. And brainwashing the public, and that's what I find so curious about this is that when leftist college students do something outrageous and stupid, it's a beautiful photograph in the New York Times, and they exclaim their views, and the press is fair to quote them and maybe say they're a little ridiculous, but maybe they have a point. But when it's a conservative group, and you have the College Republicans, Turning Point USA. These campus carry groups across the country, very popular, and other free market groups on campus, they're not covered for any of their concerns or how they're mistreated by their peers or the administration, and it just shows how rigged the system is and how important it is that people rise up and they dissent against the status quo because our elites are brainwashing us. They're not treated fairly. Protests on college campuses are not covered fairly by our media. So, of course, they're not going to be legislated fairly by the public or by our state houses.
No. And the sad thing is there's a lot of faculty who are heading up this protest. Wow. A lot of faculty that were a part of it, that were saying how disgusted they were. So what happened in Texas is they legalized campus carry in all state universities, and so that's where it came from. They're saying it's illegal to carry these dildos out in public, but you can carry a gun where I'm supposed to be learning. That's just outrageous. It just doesn't make any sense. And my
free zones have sure saved a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm just like, so whenever the next jihadist comes into your classroom, or some crazy psychopath just comes in your classroom and wants to shoot you up, yeah, pull out that assault dildo and try to take care of business. It's just it's
Yeah, man,
asinine.
I can't wait till our family and friends watch the replay.
Yeah, well, my dad. I was on the phone with my dad earlier, and I was like, "Well, I'm getting ready for a show," and he's like, "All right, I'll tune in." I'm sorry, Dad.
Sorry, Pastor Don.
Yeah, exactly. Southern Baptist pastor, don't judge. And but it's just crazy. And for that kind of stuff to happen in Texas, one thing that we've talked about. I mean, even on the first episode, is we try to the media tries to put a blanket statement over everyone. So this looks like it's Texas, even though Texas, the majority of Texans are Republicans. The majority of Texans are conservatives, and I would go as far to say the majority of Texans are going to be gun support, Second Amendment right supporters. One of the what is it? Plano, Texas has the most guns per capita in the city per household, and it has the lowest amount of crime in the United States for a city. And so, from what I understand, that could be wrong, but that was like
Kennesaw, Georgia, whatever. I think it's mandatory that everyone has a gun who can legally get one or something. Somebody was telling me something like that, and I was like, well, I don't think I agree with that.
well, I feel safe whenever I'm able to carry. I feel safe whenever I'm able to protect my family, protect my wife. I've dealt with crazy neighbors, crazy situations, and knowing that I've never had to pull a gun on anybody, but knowing that that's an option and that I am very secure in holding that weapon in my hand, and I say secure as far as like I'm very familiar with my firearms, very familiar with how they shoot and how to take care of them. And this is not just something where I went to the store and was like, oh, that one looks cool, I want it. No, this is something that I spent a lot of time with, a lot of time researching. The AR that's usually sitting back here, I have it in its case. I went to the farm yesterday to shoot it, but that AR, I spent 4 weeks researching on what AR I wanted to get, on parts, on how they worked, the reputation of the company, where that company is located, that sort of thing, and why they even started. And if anybody cares, it's a Spikes Tactical. They're made down in Florida. Excellent firearm. They have a great reputation. You should check them out. But anyways, not to plug, they don't support like sponsor us or anything like that. Just a company that I really enjoy. But a couple things that we wanted to touch on that Ollie and I were talking about earlier, the EpiPen craziness that's happening right now. We briefly mentioned on Wednesday about it. There's a lot of suspect things happening. You have a CEO who went to great lengths to pass legislation in several different cities. I forget how many cities it was, but to require public schools to have EpiPens, which I think is a solid idea. It's a solid idea to say, hey, if somebody is going into anaphylactic shock and they don't have an EpiPen in their name, they don't have an EpiPen to save their life. But requiring schools to have those, for anybody who has this issue, I think it'll save lives in the long run. But immediately following that legislation being passed, you crank the price up from $100 for a pack of two to over $600. I think that's as Ollie hates me saying, that is very questionable. The agenda there is it's just wrong in my opinion. But Ollie, what do you think about this EpiPen epidemic? Not to mention the CEO's dad is in Congress, so.
Yeah, he's a senator from West Virginia, Senator Manchin, former governor of West Virginia. Look, I'm not a big fan of big pharma. I'm not a big fan of big corporations anymore. I think that Wall Street is fleecing all of us. But it's strange, and thankfully, the day prior, I had invested in a biotech ETF, the inverse. So it's called Lab D. So I made a bunch of money as soon as Hillary Clinton's speech went live. I opened up my app and I was like, what is happening? I said something must have crashed. And what I thought was Valiant had gone bankrupt again or something. But what had happened is Hillary Clinton, the DNC, and Bernie Sanders, or the White House, and Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton had all come out against this, all four. Now, what's really strange about this is that the company is partners and donors to the Clinton Foundation. I can't help but be a little it's just I would not put it past Uma Abedin and Cheryl Mills and Hillary Clinton scheming a way to try to get the press to see, well, look, we attack Clinton donors as well. We're not just defending our Clinton Foundation. I think it's very, very strange, and we do know that the Clintons don't mind hanging somebody out to dry or die. And so I think it's very, very strange. Again, I think that the price of so many drugs are too much. It's built on a crony capitalist system, so it's not just, it's easy for conservatives to say, well, it's what the market will pay. Well, when you're the only person who can produce a drug and you're getting R&D from the government, and then you pass regulations over who can do this or that, and then you're messing with the FDA, which has to approve and green light clinical testing, and then you do what this CEO did and this company did, which is then pass statutes and laws and regulations on who then has to carry your drug. It's kind of just sounds like a rigged game. That's nothing. There was no part of that sounded free market to me. Yeah. So I think it's really, I love it when two bad people get hit. What I hate is that Hillary Clinton benefited from this.
Yeah, and you're talking about kind of how the chain. It's like a cyclical thing. They're paying for all their stuff. They're paying for the research. They're paying for all this, and then they do this. This legislation gets passed. And now, that's the tax dollar of people like us, citizens. We're paying taxes. That taxes goes to our school districts. Those school districts are now required to have these EpiPens. So yeah, it's not millions and millions of dollars that is required for these EpiPens, but at $600 for two, I don't know what the legislation says of how many they should have or whatnot, but that's pretty epic. I almost said epi, but. That's what was more interesting to me is how she approached it, and she did an interview with CNBC, and she went off about how she was
knowing that it would tank the stock price. I mean, that's why she did it on CNBC.
Yeah, well, it was the things that she said were just for somebody who went from making $2 million in 2006 to making $18 million in this past year. She didn't make herself sound very bright regarding the situation, and she said that we raised the price because we had to we had to fund the research, we had to fund the people who were advocating this legislation, and the host, I forget who it was specifically, but he said that according to the medical community, nothing has changed in the EpiPen itself, because she also blamed research and really trying to innovate the drug even more. And he's like, in the past decade, it hasn't changed. So what do you mean? And so it made her look like a fool. It's really sad for those who, work in the industry. I have a good friend of mine. She's a pharmacy tech, and she has to, tell these people, hey, this is how much this EpiPen is going to cost you. Right. And she's going to get flack for that. People are going to get upset. She's going to have to deal with the stresses of people, dealing with the fact that this drug can save their kid's life or save their own life, and now it's, is it worth $600? I mean, is your life worth $600?
Well, you're not going to pay so that you can afford the drug. I mean, that's the decision many families are having to make, especially since Obamacare has pushed so many other insurers out. So many people are choosing high deductible plans. I mean, Wall Street and the White House are killing us.
Oh, 100%, man. I was talking to my dad a little bit earlier, and one thing with this, I'll close this out because I do appreciate everybody tuning in. Just a side note, Ollie's been a little bit under the weather. He's got some traveling, some things he has to take care of this evening, so we're trying to make things happen within a certain time frame. But to close it out, I was talking to my dad, and one thing she said is, the consumer is not supposed to pay that much money, that it's actually like their health insurance and actually health care in general to deal with this. And I'm like, the consumer is the person who uses it. Just because it costs so much for research, just because it costs so much for medical school and all these different, the education you have to get to be able to do the research and all that, doesn't mean you should put that burden both on the insurance company or have it inadvertently fall on the customer. And this is what I brought up. My car got totaled a couple years ago. A wife hit a deer going like 70 miles an hour, and it totaled the car. We had to get it towed. When we got it towed, it was $75 from the city we were in to the city that it was going to. $75 for the tow, not that much. Well, the eventual city that it got to was about an hour away from where I live. And so in order to get it towed from that city to where I live, they charged the insurance company $1,200 because they knew the insurance company would pay for it and that it wasn't coming out of my pocket. And that's what I see that's going on in this whole realm of things, is that when we see that the insurance company is going to pay for it, we crank up the price. And that's one thing that she was blatantly saying, because we're raising the price, the insurance company should cover most of it. It shouldn't backfire on the customer. It is. They have to pay for it. And I hope this doesn't. I hope no blood is on their hands. I hope nobody goes into the pharmacy and says, well, I can't afford this, and their kid or them or family member or whatever. I hope they don't die from a crazy allergic reaction to peanuts. It's really pathetic how that's all working out. But I'll go ahead and close this out. Any last thoughts, Ollie?
I just want to thank everybody, especially viewers and followers and fans. Thank you. A Periscope person's telling me to feel better. I feel great. It's just my allergies, and I hate disrespecting y'all, the listeners and the viewers, with my,
we're gonna make a highlight reel of just Ollie sniffling and blowing his nose.
And all of that. But I appreciate so many of y'all who have reached out, tweeted your support for the Louisiana flood victims, sent supplies. I put out 2 different charities, American Red Cross and the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, that are worth giving to. I gave money to the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, and then there's an Amazon list that is being ran by a friend of a friend, and some of you guys bought supplies on there. So thank you, thank you, thank you. On the next Sunday show, we'll be talking about another charity that we're supporting, because what's important is that you realize that these families have lost, anywhere from $50,000 to $250,000 worth of loss in their lives currently. That's what the water's going up, let's say, average of 4 feet in many of these homes. And you're looking at 100,000 homes, 300,000 people affected. So what's important is that we not just support charities who are here for a hot minute, but we support charities that are going to be here for the long haul, because the FEMA payout, Devin, is probably going to be about $5,000. During Hurricane Katrina, it was $7,500 or so. During Hurricane Sandy, it was about $8,500 or low $8,000. The payouts right now, I think, are looking around 5,000 some odd. I think that we'll do a good job of getting that number higher. But even if it's $7,500, that's not going to replace a car. That may replace some carpet and a little bit of drywall, but that's not the paint. That's not the labor. That's not a lot of the things that are happening. And this was outside of the floodplain. So most of these people did not have flood coverage because they were told they did not need flood coverage by our government and the people who sold them their homes. So, this is going to be a tricky case, but it's going to be a tricky case of populism because I want all these families made whole. So it's very important that we support people who support the people of Louisiana, the people of the flood. You need to become a friend of the flood because, this is a tragedy that otherwise people would be doing worse if people like us, people like you, the listeners on Periscope and on YouTube, Facebook, Google, Twitter, if you guys didn't speak up, get Trump down here, force the president down here, force the governor to tuck his tail down and do a reversal, we wouldn't have the support that we have now, which our neighbors appreciate. I've knocked down some walls. I've cleaned some insulation. I've given to charity. And more importantly, I've connected that information with y'all. Y'all are the biggest force for good out there. And I'm just so grateful for that. So, there's times when I'm driving and I just start crying. Our local Verizon store has signs out. This is outside the flood zone. And they had about 20 yard signs that said, stop in, charge your phone for free, make calls for free. And it just caught me. I had to pull over and take a picture and, be a little bit emotional. But I'm just so humbled by our listeners here at the Dissent Show reaching out and contributing what they can, because these are my neighbors and my friends, and most of the people I know here in Louisiana have lost most of the things that they own, and it's just so tragic.
Yeah, and I actually have, like I said before, I have family in that area. My mom graduated from Central High School. I want to say they lived in Denham Springs growing up, and my aunts live in Baton Rouge, and one of my aunts posted a picture yesterday, and it was the same picture that you captured on Snapchat last week, and that's just all the insulation, all the possessions, all the different items stacked up on the curb, ready for trash pickup, and she just said there's in this area there's 30,000 more of these same exact pictures, and you just got to think about. I just get chills thinking about it actually. Just the devastation. You know, I look around my house, I look around where I live, and say, you know, if I lost all of this, like what priceless possessions do I have? What possessions I spent a bunch of money on? Like what truly matters in the long run? And you know, it's people that want to reach out, people that want to lend a helping hand out of love, out of, you know, obligation to your fellow neighbor. Those are the people that are going to make this restoration complete and full. And you know, the effort's not done. You know, Louisiana's not out of the woods by a long shot at this point in time. So, you know, feel free to donate your time, spread the word, retweet us when we talk about it. You know, spread we created a graphic that had some of the statistics, and they were early on statistics, but those numbers speak a lot further than just hey, these people need your help. It lets people see, you know, 300,000 people, 100,000 homes, 7,000 businesses, and 74,000 employees. I mean, those are some hard-hitting facts right there. You can't argue that this is a devastating event. But you know, once again, go ahead and check out the links. I'll actually include the links in the description below, so you'll be able to see how you can donate to the Red Cross, to the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. You can check out the list. It's a Facebook note that Ali has posted. It says it's a bit.ly link, and it says how you can help. And then there's one that says LA Blogger, and what that is for is to help share these people's stories, so that we can fund some bloggers to go down there to spend time with the people that are affected, the victims of this flood, and you know, share their stories. So be sure to check those out. Once again, we thank you for following us on Twitter. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube, setting up your notifications. And if you haven't done so, once again, our YouTube channel rather is bit.ly/Dissent Show or bit.ly.com/Dissent Show. You can follow us on Twitter @Dissent Show. You can follow Ali @Ali, so that's @ALI. And then I'm @Devin Wills. We appreciate all the time. We're going to be actually setting up the podcast, the actual audio on SoundCloud and on iTunes this week, so you'll be able to subscribe to those if you can't watch videos at work.
Fancy.
Pardon?
I said fancy.
Oh, super! You know, we live in a day of technology. But if you can't watch videos or anything like that at work, this would be a great chance for you to listen to us driving to work, driving home from work, or even, you know, playing something in the background. But we hope you have a great rest of your Sunday afternoon. We appreciate you accommodating the time change. We will be back with you Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And Ali, hope the sinuses get to feeling better, and drive safe.
Hey, I appreciate it, Devin. I appreciate all of y'all tuning into the Dissent Show.
You have a good night.